Rain fell hard on the city of Chicago. The streets were dark and empty. Only one building had bright lights. It was a tall black tower with golden doors. Everyone in the city knew this building. It belonged to Damian Cross, the most feared mafia boss in the country. Inside a small apartment across the city, a young woman named Elena Marsh was packing a bag. Her hands were shaking. She had just $300 left in her purse. Her landlord had given her one more day to pay the rent, or she would be thrown out on the street. Elena was 24 years old. She worked as a waitress at a small diner. Her mother was sick in the hospital, and the bills were growing every day. Elena had no family to help her. She had no rich friends. She only had herself. That night, she made a dangerous decision. She heard a rumor from one of her co-workers. People said that Damian Cross sometimes gave money to people who did small jobs for him. Nobody knew what these jobs were. Nobody asked questions. The people who worked for him either became rich, or they disappeared forever. Elena knew the risk. But she had no other choice. Her mother needed medicine. The hospital needed payment. She put on her old coat and walked out into the rain. The tower stood in front of her like a giant monster. Guards stood at the golden doors. They wore black suits and dark glasses, even at night. Elena took a deep breath and walked toward them. "I need to see Mr. Cross," she said. The guards laughed. "Little girl, do you know where you are? Nobody just walks in and sees the boss." "Please," Elena said. "Tell him I can help him. Tell him I know something about the man who betrayed him." This got their attention. The guards looked at each other. One of them spoke into a small radio. A few seconds later, they nodded and opened the door. Elena did not actually know anything about a traitor. She had made up the story to get inside. It was a huge risk. If Damian Cross found out she was lying, she might not leave the building alive. But Elena had nothing to lose anymore. The elevator took her up to the top floor. Her heart was beating fast. When the doors opened, she saw a massive office. Big windows showed the whole city below. A large desk sat in the middle of the room. Behind it stood a tall man in a black suit. This was Damian Cross. He was 32 years old, but his eyes looked much older. His face was calm, but there was danger hidden behind his calmness. Everyone who looked into his eyes felt fear. He was known to be cold and merciless. People said he had never trusted anyone in his whole life. Damian did not look up right away. He was reading papers on his desk. "You have 30 seconds, he said. "Tell me about the traitor, or you will leave this building in a very unpleasant way." Elena's mouth went dry. She had no real information. She had to think fast. "I lied," she said suddenly. "I don't know anything about a traitor. I only said that so your men would let me in." Damian finally looked up. His eyes studied her carefully. Most people would have been terrified to admit such a lie in front of him. But something about Elena's honesty made him pause. "That is very stupid," he said slowly. "Or very brave. Which one are you?" "Maybe both," Elena answered. Her voice shook, but she did not look away from him. Damian stood up from his chair and walked closer. "Why did you really come here?" Elena explained everything. Her sick mother. The unpaid hospital bills. Her landlord's warning. She told him she had heard he sometimes helped people who did jobs for him, and she was ready to do anything, no matter how dangerous, to get money. Damian listened without saying a word. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. Then he said something she did not expect. "I don't hire desperate people," he said. "Desperate people make mistakes. And mistakes get people killed." Elena's heart sank. She had risked everything for nothing. "But," Damian continued, "I do admire courage. Walking into this building alone, at night, with nothing but a lie. That takes courage most men in this city do not have." He turned and looked out the window at the city lights. "I have a job for you," he said. "But it is not what you think. And once you accept it, you cannot walk away. Do you understand?" Elena did not fully understand. But she nodded anyway. She needed the money too badly to refuse. Damian turned back to face her. Tomorrow night, someone very dangerous is coming to this city. He believes I owe him something. I need a woman by my side who nobody suspects. A woman who looks innocent. A woman like you." Elena's stomach twisted with fear. "You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend?" "For one night," Damien said. "In front of the wrong people. If it goes well, you will get more money than you can imagine. If it goes wrong—" He did not finish the sentence. Elena should have said no. Every part of her mind told her to run out of that office and never come back. But she thought of her mother lying in the hospital bed, and she thought of the empty apartment waiting for her. "I'll do it," she whispered. Damien smiled, but it was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a man who always got what he wanted. "Good," he said. "Welcome to my world, Elena Marsh. Just remember one thing. In my world, nobody leaves empty-handed. But sometimes, the price is much higher than money." Outside, the rain kept falling on the city, hiding the danger that was about to begin. Elena did not know it yet, but she had just made a decision that would change her entire life. She had walked into the tower as a desperate waitress. She would soon discover that Damien Cross's world was full of secrets, danger, and a mystery that connected her to him in a way neither of them could imagine. What was the treasure Damien Cross had spent his whole life protecting? And why did fate choose Elena, of all people, to carry it? Elena did not sleep that night. She sat on her old couch, staring at the wall, thinking about the tall man with cold eyes. Damien Cross had given her one simple job: pretend to be his girlfriend for one night. But something in his voice told her this was not simple at all. Early in the morning, a black car stopped outside her apartment. A woman stepped out. She was tall, wearing a sharp gray suit. Her name was Rosa, and she worked for Damien. "Get dressed," Rosa said. "Mr. Cross wants you ready by evening." "Ready for what?" Elena asked. Rosa did not answer. She simply handed Elena a large black bag. Inside was a beautiful red dress, shoes, and a small box with jewelry. Elena had never touched anything so expensive in her whole life. By 6 in the evening, Elena stood in front of a mirror. She barely recognized herself. The red dress made her look like she belonged in Damien's world, even though her heart was pounding with fear. Rosa drove her to a large hotel outside the city. It was called the Grand Meridian. Black cars filled the parking area. Men in suits stood near every door, watching everyone who walked past. Inside, Damien was waiting near the entrance. He wore a black suit, and his face was calm as always. When he saw Elena, his eyes studied her for a moment. "You look convincing," he said. It was not exactly a compliment, but Elena understood what he meant. "Convincing for what?" she asked. "You still haven't told me who these people are." Damien leaned closer, his voice low. "Tonight, you will meet a man named Victor Sokolov. He controls half the ports in this city. He believes I stole something from him 5 years ago. He wants it back, or he wants blood." Elena's face went pale. "And what does this have to do with me?" "Victor believes rumors that I have gone soft," Damien said. "He thinks I have weaknesses now, a woman, a family, something to protect. Tonight, we prove him wrong. You will stand beside me, smile, and say nothing important." "That is all. That is all," Elena repeated, her voice shaking. "You just told me this man wants to kill you." "He wants to threaten me," Damien corrected her. "There's a difference. Victor does not attack in public. He likes to watch, to study, to wait for the right moment. Tonight, he will only watch us." Elena wanted to run. But Rosa was standing behind her, and 2 guards were near the door. There was no way out now. They walked into a large ballroom filled with rich people, drinking wine and speaking quietly. Everyone seemed to know who Damien was. Some smiled at him with fear in their eyes. Others looked away completely. A tall man with gray hair approached them. His eyes were sharp, like a wolf watching its prey. This was Victor Sokolov. "Damien," Victor said with a fake smile. "It has been a long time." "Victor," Damien replied calmly. "You look older." Victor laughed, but his eyes moved to Elena immediately. "And who is this beautiful woman?" I did not know the great Damien Cross had a soft heart hidden somewhere. This is Elena, Damien said, placing a hand gently on her back. She is with me. Victor studied Elena carefully, like he was trying to find a weakness. A waitress, if I remember what my men told me, he said slowly. Interesting choice for a man like you, Damien. Very interesting. Elena's heart nearly stopped. Victor already knew about her job at the diner. That meant he had been watching her, maybe for days. This was much more dangerous than she had imagined. Damien's face did not change, but his hand tightened slightly on Elena's back, a silent warning to stay calm. People change, Victor, Damien said. Perhaps I finally found something worth protecting. Victor's smile faded for a moment. Or perhaps, he said quietly, you finally found something worth using as a shield. The room felt colder to Elena. She realized she was standing between two dangerous men, each one testing the other, and she was the weapon being used in this silent war. Victor finally turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of guests. Elena let out a breath she did not know she was holding. He knows about me, she whispered to Damien. He knows where I work. How is that possible? Victor makes it his business to know everything, Damien said, his eyes scanning the room. This changes things. What do you mean? Damien looked at her directly for the first time that night, his expression serious. It means you are no longer just a woman I hired for one night. Victor now believes you matter to me. And in my world, anything that matters to me becomes a target. Elena felt fear crawl up her spine. She had only wanted money to save her mother. Now she was tangled in a war between two of the most dangerous men in the city. You said this was just one night, she said. You said I could walk away after tonight. Damien's eyes darkened. I said that before Victor saw your face. Things are different now. Before Elena could respond, a loud crash echoed from the hotel entrance. Screams filled the ballroom. Guests began running in every direction. Damien immediately grabbed Elena's arm and pulled her behind him. Through the chaos, Elena saw men in black masks entering the room, weapons in their hands. Rosa shouted something in the distance, but her voice was lost in the panic. Stay close to me, Damien said, his voice suddenly sharp and commanding. No matter what happens, do not let go of my hand. Elena's whole body trembled, but she gripped his hand tightly. Whatever was happening, she now understood one terrifying truth. She had walked into Damien Cross's world thinking it was just one dangerous night. She had no idea that tonight was only the beginning of a much bigger storm, one that would reveal secrets buried for years, and pull her into the middle of a war she never asked to be part of. Who sent these masked men into the hotel? Was this Victor's warning, or something far worse hiding in the shadows of Damien's past? The ballroom turned into complete chaos. Tables flipped over. Glasses shattered on the floor. Guests screamed and pushed each other to escape. Damien pulled Elena through a side door, away from the panic, his grip firm around her hand. This way, he said, guiding her down a narrow hallway behind the kitchen. Elena's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. Gunshots echoed somewhere behind them, followed by more screaming. She had never been this close to real danger before. Who are those men? She asked, struggling to keep up with Damien's fast pace. I don't know yet, Damien said. But I intend to find out. They reached a back exit. Rosa was already there, waiting beside a black car with the engine running. Her face was tense, and there was a small cut above her eyebrow. Get in, Rosa said quickly. We need to leave now. Damien pushed Elena gently into the back seat and got in beside her. Rosa jumped into the driver's seat and sped away from the hotel. Within seconds, the bright lights of the Grand Meridian disappeared behind them. Elena's hands were shaking. She looked at Damien, expecting him to explain everything, but he was silent, staring out the window with a hard expression. Was that Victor? Elena finally asked. Did he send those men? Victor does not attack this way, Damien said slowly. He prefers to threaten, not to shoot in a crowded room full of witnesses. This was someone else. Someone else. Elena repeated. Damien, how many enemies do you have? For the first time, Damien's cold expression softened just slightly. More than I can count, he admitted. But this attack feels different. It feels personal. Rosa spoke from the front seat. Sir, my contact at the hotel said the men were looking for something. They searched several rooms before opening fire. Damien's jaw tightened. Did they find it? No, Rosa said. Security stopped them before they reached the upper floor. Elena looked between them, confused. What were they looking for? Nobody answered her question. The silence in the car became heavy, filled with secrets Elena did not understand. She realized there was so much more happening beneath the surface of Damien's world, things far bigger than one dangerous dinner party. The car finally stopped in front of a large private house outside the city, hidden behind tall gates and thick trees. This was not the tower Elena had visited before. It looked like a normal home, but she quickly understood there was nothing normal about it. Guards patrolled the garden, and cameras were placed on every corner of the building. Where are we? Elena asked as they walked inside. Somewhere safe, Damien said. For tonight, at least. Inside, the house was quiet and elegant, very different from the loud chaos of the hotel. Damien led Elena to a large living room with a fireplace. He poured himself a drink and finally turned to face her. I should send you home, he said. This was never supposed to involve you this much. But, Elena asked, sensing there was more. But Victor has already seen your face, Damien said. And now whoever attacked that hotel may have seen it too. Sending you home now could put you in even more danger. Elena sat down slowly, trying to process everything. Just yesterday, she was a waitress worried about hospital bills. Tonight, she was hiding in a Mafia Boss's safe house after surviving a gun attack. I need answers, she said firmly. You cannot keep me in the dark anymore. What is going on? What were those men looking for? Damien studied her for a long moment. Something about her courage, even after everything that happened, made him respect her more than he expected. 5 years ago, he began, my father was murdered. Elena's eyes widened. She had not expected this. Before he died, Damien continued, he hid something extremely valuable. Something powerful enough that many dangerous men in the city would kill just to find it. Victor believes I have it. So do others. Do you have it? Elena asked carefully. Damien's eyes darkened. No. I have spent 5 years searching for it myself. My father hid it so well that even I cannot find it. Elena's mind raced. So tonight's attack. Those men think you were hiding it at the hotel? Perhaps, Damien said. Or perhaps they think someone connected to me knows where it is. A cold realization crept into Elena's mind. You think they believe I know something? Damien did not answer right away, which frightened her even more than words could. I don't know anything about your father's secret, Elena said quickly. I only met you yesterday. I know, Damien said calmly. But in this world, perception matters more than truth. If enough people believe you know something, that belief alone puts you in danger. Elena stood up, pacing nervously across the room. So what happens now? I can't go home. I can't just disappear from my job and my mother's hospital bills. My mother needs me. Damien was quiet for a moment, watching her with an unreadable expression. Then he said something that surprised her. Your mother will be taken care of, he said. I will personally make sure her medical bills are paid, and she will have the best doctors available. Elena turned to him, shocked. Why would you do that? Because you are now involved in something dangerous because of me, Damien said. It is only fair. Elena did not know whether to feel grateful or more frightened. Everything was happening too fast. Just 1 day ago, her biggest problem was rent money. Now she was trapped in a deadly secret involving murder, hidden treasure, and men who would kill to protect their secrets. There's something else, Rosa said, walking into the room with a tablet in her hand. Her face looked troubled. Sir, you need to see this. Damien took the tablet, and his expression changed instantly from calm to deeply serious. Elena had never seen him look this way before, almost afraid. What is it? Elena asked, stepping closer. Damien turned the tablet toward her. On the screen was a photograph, an old photograph of a young woman holding a baby. Elena's breath caught in her throat. The woman in the photograph looked exactly like her mother. "Where did you get this picture?" Elena whispered, her voice trembling. Damien's eyes met hers, filled with something Elena could not quite understand. Confusion. Suspicion. Maybe even fear. "This photograph was found in my father's private files," Damien said slowly. "Hidden together with information about the treasure he protected before he died." Elena felt the room spin around her. Nothing made sense anymore. How could her mother possibly be connected to Damien's father? What secret connected these two families together? Damien looked at her carefully, his voice low and serious. "Elena, I think you may be connected to this treasure in a way neither of us understood until tonight." The fire crackled quietly in the fireplace, but Elena barely noticed. Her entire world had just changed in an instant, and she realized this mystery went far deeper than money, danger, or even the Mafia itself. What did this old photograph really mean? And what dark secret connected Elena's family to Damien Cross's father? Elena stared at the photograph on the tablet for a long time. Her mother, so young, so happy, holding a baby in her arms. She had never seen this picture before in her life. "This cannot be real," Elena whispered. "My mother never mentioned knowing your family. She never even mentioned Chicago before I was born." "Are you certain?" Damien asked quietly. Elena's mind raced back through years of memories. Her mother, Grace Marsh, had always been a private woman. She rarely spoke about her past, and whenever Elena asked questions about her father or their family history, Grace would quickly change the subject. "My mother told me my father died before I was born," Elena said slowly. "She said he was a good man who worked in construction. She never mentioned anyone named Cross." Damien's eyes narrowed. "My father's name was Anthony Cross. Does that name mean anything to you?" Elena shook her head. "No. Nothing." Rosa, who had been standing quietly nearby, finally spoke. "Sir, there is more information in the file. Should I show her?" Damien nodded, and Rosa handed Elena a folder filled with old documents. Elena's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were letters, old and yellowed with age, written in careful handwriting. "These are addressed to someone named Grace," Elena said, reading the top letter. Her breath caught. "This is my mother's name." She read further, and her eyes filled with tears. The letters spoke of love, of danger, and of a woman who had to disappear to protect her child. The final letter was dated exactly 1 year before Elena was born. "My dearest Grace," Elena read aloud, her voice shaking. "I know you must leave the city for your safety and the safety of our child. I promise I will find a way to protect you both, even if it means giving up everything I have built. Please remember, no matter what happens to me, our child will always be protected. I have made arrangements that will last long after I am gone." Elena looked up at Damien, tears streaming down her face. This means your father was." "My father knew your mother," Damien finished quietly, his own voice unsteady. "And based on these letters, it appears they were deeply connected before he married my mother." Elena felt dizzy. "Are you saying that your father might be—" She could not finish the sentence. The idea was too overwhelming. Damien looked at her carefully, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. "I need to see medical records, or something more concrete before we make any conclusions. But if what these letters suggest is true, then you and I may share the same father." The room fell into complete silence. Elena sat frozen, trying to understand what this meant. If it was true, she was not just an innocent woman pulled into a dangerous mafia world by accident. She might actually be connected to Damien by blood. "This is impossible," Elena finally said. "My mother would have told me something this important." "Perhaps she had her reasons for silence," Damien said. "The letters mention danger. If my father truly hid something valuable, and if enemies knew about your mother and you, silence may have been the only way to keep you both alive." Elena thought about her mother's strange behavior over the years. The way she flinched whenever news about organized crime appeared on television. The way she always kept blinds closed at night. The way she moved apartments 3 times before Elena turned 10 years old, never fully explaining why. Suddenly, Pieces of her childhood started making a strange, frightening kind of sense. "If this is true," Elena said slowly, "then the treasure everyone is searching for might be connected to you," Damien finished. "Or perhaps it was meant for you all along." Before either of them could say more, Rosa's phone buzzed loudly. She looked at the screen, and her face turned pale. "Sir," she said urgently, "it's about Elena's mother. The hospital just called." Elena shot up from her seat. "What happened? Is she okay?" Rosa hesitated before answering, which only made Elena's fear grow stronger. "Someone tried to access her hospital room tonight. Security stopped them, but the intruder escaped before they could be identified." Elena's whole body went cold. "Someone tried to hurt my mother." "We don't know their intentions," Rosa said carefully. "But given everything happening tonight, this cannot be a coincidence." Damien stood up immediately, his expression turning hard and focused. "Move her to a private hospital under heavy security immediately. I want guards outside her room within the hour." Rosa nodded and rushed out of the room to make arrangements. Elena grabbed Damien's arm, panic rising in her voice. "I need to see her. I need to make sure she's safe." "It's too dangerous right now," Damien said. "If someone followed us from the hotel, going to the hospital could lead them directly to her or to you." "I don't care about the danger," Elena shouted, tears falling freely now. "She's the only family I have. I can't lose her." Damien's expression softened slightly, something rare and unexpected in his usually controlled face. "I promise you, Elena, nothing will happen to your mother. I will personally ensure her safety, but running to her right now, without proper protection, could put both of you at greater risk." Elena wanted to argue, but deep inside, she knew he was right. Her emotions were clouding her judgment, and right now, careful thinking mattered more than fear. "Why are you helping me this much?" Elena asked quietly. "An hour ago, I was just a stranger you hired for one night." Damien looked at her, his eyes filled with an emotion Elena could not fully identify. "If what these letters say is true, you are not a stranger anymore. You might be my sister. And more importantly, you might be the key to understanding what my father was truly protecting and why he was killed for it." The weight of his words settled heavily in the room. Elena had walked into Damien's tower only 2 days ago, desperate for money to save her mother. She never imagined she would discover a hidden family connection, a murdered father, and a dangerous secret that put everyone she loved directly in danger. As Rosa returned to confirm the hospital transfer arrangements, Elena's phone suddenly buzzed in her purse. She had almost forgotten she still carried it. The message was from an unknown number, and it made her blood run cold. "I know who you really are, Elena Marsh. Your mother's silence protected you for 24 years. That silence is about to end. Come alone, or she pays the price." Elena's hands shook uncontrollably as she showed the message to Damien. His face turned to stone as he read the words. "Someone else already knows the truth," Damien said darkly. "And they are watching us right now. Who sent this threatening message, and how much do they truly know about Elena's connection to the Cross family?" The danger was no longer hidden in the shadows. It had arrived at their doorstep. Elena stared at the message on her phone, her whole body trembling. Someone out there knew about her connection to the Cross family, and they were threatening her mother's life. "I have to go," Elena said, standing up quickly. "They said come alone. If I don't, they'll hurt her." Damien grabbed her arm gently but firmly. "That is exactly what they want. Whoever sent this message wants you isolated, away from protection. Walking into their trap alone will not save your mother. It will only give them exactly what they want, you." "Then what am I supposed to do?" Elena asked, tears streaming down her face. "Just sit here while my mother is in danger?" "We trace the message first," Damien said, already moving toward Rosa. "Then we act smart, not scared." Rosa worked quickly on her laptop, her fingers moving across the keyboard. "The number is untraceable through normal methods," she said after a few minutes. "But the message was sent from a location near the hospital. Whoever sent it wanted us to know they were close." Damien's expression darkened. "They're sending a message. They want us to know they can reach her any time they choose." Elena felt sick with fear. "Please, we need to move her now." "She is already being transferred," Rosa confirmed. "My men are escorting her to a private facility as we speak. Extra security has been arranged." Despite the reassurance, Elena could not calm down. Everything was moving too fast, and she felt completely powerless. Damien turned to her, his voice steady but serious. "Elena, listen to me carefully. I need you to trust me, even though we barely know each other. I have spent years dealing with threats like this. Panic gets people killed. Careful thinking saves lives." Elena took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. "Okay. What do we do?" "First, we need to figure out who else knows about the connection between our families," Damien said. "This information was hidden in my father's private files. Very few people had access to those documents." "Who had access?" Elena asked. Damien thought for a moment before answering. "Only a small circle of people. My father's most trusted advisors, myself, and—" He paused, his face suddenly tense. "And who?" Elena pressed. "My uncle Marcus Cross," Damien said slowly. "My father's younger brother." Rosa looked up sharply from her laptop. "Sir, you don't think—" "I don't want to believe it," Damien said, "but Marcus has always resented that my father built this empire, while he was left with far less power and money. If he discovered the treasure's connection to Elena before I did, he would have every reason to use that information against us." Elena felt a chill run through her body. "You think your own uncle sent that message?" "I don't know for certain," Damien admitted. "But we need to find out quickly, before he makes another move." Just then, Rosa's phone rang. She answered quickly, listened for a moment, then her face turned pale once again. "Sir, the hospital transfer team just reported something strange. There was a man watching the private facility before they even arrived. He left the moment he noticed the extra security." "Can they identify him?" Damien asked urgently. "They managed to get a partial photograph," Rosa said, pulling it up on her laptop screen. Elena leaned forward to look at the picture. The image was blurry, taken from a distance, but something about the man's build and the way he stood seemed disturbingly familiar to Damien. "That's Marcus's personal driver," Damien said, his jaw tightening with anger. "My uncle sent someone to watch the hospital." "So it's confirmed," Elena said quietly. "Your uncle is behind this." "It confirms suspicion, not certainty," Damien corrected. "But it is enough for me to act. I need to speak with Marcus directly." "That could be dangerous," Rosa warned. "If he already knows about Elena's connection to the family, confronting him now might force him to act sooner than planned." Damien considered this for a moment, then turned to Elena. "There's something else you should know. If Marcus truly believes you are connected to my father's hidden treasure, he will not stop until he either controls you or eliminates the threat you represent to his own plans." Elena's blood ran cold. "Eliminates? You mean he might try to kill me?" Damien did not answer immediately, which was answer enough. "I won't let that happen," he finally said, his voice filled with a quiet, dangerous determination Elena had not heard from him before. "Whatever connection we share, whether you are truly my sister or not, I will protect you." Despite the fear consuming her, Elena felt a strange sense of comfort in his words. Just days ago, Damien Cross was a terrifying stranger. Now, he felt like the only person standing between her and complete disaster. "There's something we're missing," Elena said suddenly, her mind racing back to the letters she had read earlier. "Your father's letter mentioned arrangements that would last long after he was gone. What if the treasure isn't money or valuables at all? What if it's something else entirely?" Damien's eyes widened slightly as he considered this new possibility. "What are you thinking?" "What if the treasure is information?" Elena said. "Something powerful enough to destroy people or protect them. Something that could explain why so many dangerous men are desperate to find it." Rosa looked between them, considering the theory carefully. That would explain why Victor wants it just as badly as Marcus does. Information about criminal operations, secret deals, hidden money, things like that could be worth more than any physical treasure. Damien's expression grew intense with realization. "My father was always careful, always thinking 3 steps ahead of everyone else. If he hid something like that, he would have made sure only someone he completely trusted could find it. Someone like you, Elena said. Or someone like me, if we truly share the same blood. The room fell silent as the weight of this realization settled over them. If Elena truly was connected to Anthony Cross through blood, she might unknowingly hold the key that everyone in this dangerous world was searching for. Before anyone could speak further, the lights in the house suddenly flickered, then went completely dark. Elena's heart nearly stopped as she heard Rosa's sharp intake of breath in the darkness. "That's not a power outage," Damien said quietly, his voice suddenly cold and alert. "Someone just cut the power to this house." Elena felt a hand grip hers tightly in the darkness. It was Damien, pulling her close protectively. "Stay behind me," he whispered. "No matter what happens next." Outside, the sound of multiple footsteps could be heard approaching the house from different directions. Whoever had come for them was not planning to leave without answers, or without Elena herself. Who was outside the house in the darkness, and had Marcus Cross finally decided to act? The danger Elena feared most was no longer a distant threat. It had arrived at her doorstep in the dead of night. Darkness filled the house. Elena could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Damien stood in front of her, perfectly still, listening carefully to every sound outside. "Rosa," he whispered. "Weapons now." Rosa moved silently through the darkness, and within seconds, Elena heard the click of a gun being loaded. Her whole body shook with fear, but she forced herself to stay quiet, just as Damien had instructed. Footsteps grew closer outside. Then, a bright flashlight beam cut through the darkness from the hallway. Damien pushed Elena gently behind a large piece of furniture and moved forward carefully. "Marcus," Damien called out, his voice steady and commanding. "I know it's you. There's no need to hide in the shadows like a coward." For a moment, silence. Then a voice answered, calm and cold. "Damien. Always so dramatic." The lights suddenly flickered back on. Standing in the doorway was an older man, sharply dressed, with the same intense eyes as Damien. Behind him stood 2 armed guards. "Uncle Marcus," Damien said flatly. "I should have known you would come yourself once you realized we found the letters." Marcus smiled coldly. "Your father always underestimated me, Damien. I won't make the same mistake with you." Elena peeked out from behind the furniture, her eyes locking with Marcus's for the first time. His expression changed slightly when he saw her, a mixture of curiosity and calculation. "So, this is her," Marcus said, stepping closer. "The waitress who turned out to be so much more." "Stay away from her," Damien warned, stepping between them. Marcus laughed softly. "Relax, nephew. I'm not here to hurt her. I'm here to finish what your father started, and end this ridiculous rivalry once and for all." "By threatening an innocent woman's mother?" Damien said angrily. "By sending armed men to attack a hotel full of innocent people?" Marcus's expression hardened. "I did not attack that hotel, Damien. That was Victor's doing, trying to send his own message while pretending it was someone else. I only wanted information, quietly, without unnecessary violence." Elena stepped out from behind the furniture despite Damien's protective stance. "If you didn't send those attackers, then who sent the threatening message to my phone?" Marcus's eyes narrowed with genuine confusion. "What message?" Rosa quickly explained the situation, and as she spoke, Marcus's expression shifted from confusion to something closer to alarm. "That was not me," Marcus said firmly. "I admit I have been searching for information about the treasure your father hid. I even confirmed the connection to this young woman's family through old records. But I have not threatened anyone, and I certainly did not attack that hospital." Damien studied his uncle carefully, trying to determine if he was telling the truth. "Then who did?" Before anyone could answer, Rosa's phone buzzed again. Her face turned pale as she read the new message. "Sir," she said urgently, "it's from the same number. They say if we don't bring Elena to the old harbor warehouse within the hour, she'll never see her mother again." Elena's blood ran cold. "They have my mother." Rosa quickly called the hospital to confirm. After a tense minute, her expression relaxed slightly. "No, your mother is safe. She is still under heavy guard at the private facility. This is a bluff. But why would someone bluff this way? Elena asked. Unless they want us to come to them directly. Damien's eyes widened with sudden understanding. It's a trap. Someone wants us at that warehouse, away from protection. Victor, Marcus said quietly. This has his style written all over it. He's using the confusion between our families to lure you out. Damien nodded slowly. If Victor believes Elena holds information about my father's treasure, he'll want her alone, without protection, without witnesses. So what do we do? Elena asked, her voice trembling but determined. Damien looked at her, his expression softening slightly. We go to the warehouse, but not the way Victor expects. An hour later, under the cover of darkness, Damien's men surrounded the old harbor warehouse from every direction. Elena walked toward the entrance alone, exactly as instructed by the message, wearing a small hidden microphone taped beneath her collar. Damien and Marcus watched from a distance, ready to move the moment anything went wrong. Inside the warehouse, Victor stood waiting, surrounded by several armed men. You came alone, he said, sounding almost impressed. Braver than I expected. Where is the treasure you think I have? Elena asked, forcing her voice to remain steady. Victor smiled coldly. That's exactly what I intend to find out from you, my dear. I don't know anything, Elena said. I only just learned about this connection myself. Perhaps, Victor said, circling around her slowly. Or perhaps Anthony Cross was clever enough to hide the information somewhere only you would recognize, without you even realizing it. At that exact moment, Damien's men moved in quickly, surrounding Victor's guards before they could react. Damien himself walked through the main entrance, his expression cold and controlled. It's over, Victor, Damien said. You've made your final mistake tonight. Victor's confident smile faltered as he realized he was now outnumbered and surrounded. This isn't finished, Damien. Yes, Damien said calmly. It is. Within minutes, Victor and his men were subdued and taken away by Damien's people. Elena finally let out the breath she had been holding, her whole body trembling with relief. Later that night, back at the safe house, Elena sat quietly by the fireplace, wrapped in a warm blanket, still processing everything that had happened. Damien walked in and sat beside her, holding a small wooden box in his hands. What is that? Elena asked. This belonged to my father, Damien said. I finally found where he hid it, thanks to the letters you discovered. It was inside a location only someone connected to your mother would recognize, a place mentioned specifically in his letters to her. He opened the box carefully. Inside were documents, old photographs, and a small golden locket. These documents contain records of illegal deals made by several powerful men in the city, including proof of corruption that stretches into the police department and city government, Damien explained. My father spent years collecting this information, planning to use it someday to protect the people he loved, including you and your mother. Elena picked up the golden locket carefully. Inside was a small photograph of her mother and a man who looked remarkably like an older version of Damien. He truly was my father, Elena whispered, tears filling her eyes. Damien nodded gently. It appears so. Which means, Elena, you are truly my sister. The word hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Elena had entered Damien's world searching for money to save her mother. She never imagined she would leave it discovering a family she never knew existed, and a treasure far more valuable than any amount of money. What happens now? Elena asked quietly. Damien looked at her, a rare genuine smile appearing on his face. Now, you get to decide your own path, sister. Whatever you choose, you will never again face danger alone. You have a family now, whether you are ready for it or not. Elena smiled through her tears, finally feeling a sense of peace after days filled with fear and uncertainty. She had walked into Damien Cross's tower expecting to leave empty-handed, expecting nothing but temporary money to solve temporary problems. Instead, she had found her true family, a brother willing to protect her with his life, and a treasure of truth that would finally bring justice to a city long ruled by fear and corruption. Outside, the sun began to rise over Chicago, bringing a new beginning for Elena Marsh, a woman who had walked into darkness and found her way into the light, carrying with her the greatest treasure Damien Cross's father had ever protected, his daughter.